Hello guys, and welcome back to another faction overview guide for the Lord of the Rings Total War mod. Today we will be covering the Silvan faction. And just before I go into it, I just want to take another moment here to just say thank you all to those who have subscribed to the channel and supporting me through, just throughout the growth of the channel, really, I guess, if that makes any sense. We're just coming up to a year of, me starting the channel and being on YouTube. So again, just thank you all for supporting me and being here on my videos and live streams. Just thank you all for the support. And again, if you're on that edge on whether or not you're thinking of subscribing or not, I highly encourage you to just take the plunge and hit that subscribe button. So thank you all again for your support on the channel. And so again, just very quickly, what I'll be discussing, on the video today will be four things. First will be the initial settlements and starting locations of the faction. Then secondly, the initial army. Thirdly, the economy of the faction. And then lastly, just some basic expansion tips that I have for the faction that I would recommend doing. Again, it's never something that you have to do to have a successful campaign. It's just what personally I would recommend doing, just to make sure you have the strongest start possible for your campaign. So first, just diving into the initial settlements, you have two of them. You have Thranduil's Palace, and however you say this, like Aaron Lasgalen here. Really, even though Thranduil's Palace is a really well-developed city, it's tier 4 if we look into the building browser. You can get up to tier 5 with the elves, but luckily you have a really good population and good growth. So depending on if you focus on growth and economic infrastructure, you could get to tier 5 very quickly. And you do have some basic buildings. You got some walls here to protect it. You got some elven archers, or the elven training field, and then the elven fort. So you already start with some pretty good military recruitment buildings. So obviously the infrastructure buildings are there for you here at Thranduil's Palace. Whether you do the House of Healing to increase your population growth, or trading posts to increase your income, or even mines, it's really up to you on what you want to do in terms of that settlement, because you're already at tier 4. You have the means to kind of build what you want, and you got the money to do so. Only starting out with a negative 22 income per turn is very easily fixed by a simple adjusting of the taxes for one city. And then with your second settlement here, even though it's only tier 1, your population growth is amazing. So it's going to reach tier 2 very quickly. And again, you're kind of, in terms of, other than just waiting for it to get up to the tiers that you need, you have everything at your disposal in terms to make it a success for a settlement. Walls are always a good option, just in case an enemy force comes in. At least they're not going to be able to attack you right away. But then it's just, if you want to focus on economy, you can do that, or also give yourself another opportunity to train some more archers, because archers as elves are always a really good thing. So really, since you have a treasury amount to start off with, and your economy isn't that horrible, 8% for a growth rate is pretty insane. So you can even if we bust these up to very high for both, you can see here your economy to start off with, without even building a building, is fairly good. So really, you got two very strong initial settlements, which also kind of leads into their starting positions, which they're fairly safe. For several reasons. One being, your enemy to the east is going to be Rune, which you're not going to meet them for a while. And even if you do, you have Erebor, Dale, and the Iron Hills already providing a background. Not to mention numerous rebel settlements that the enemy will have to take and get through before they even get to you. And really, to the north here, Erebor, more likely than not, will conquer those. If you want to go there to get some minerals to build mines, you can, but unless you expand north, the enemy is fairly passive at the moment, so it's very unlikely that you'll run into Gundabad early on. So really, your big threat is rebel settlements, and then eventually, as you push on further south, will be Mordor. eventually. But other than that, I mean, it's fairly a relaxing start. And you also have, I almost forgot, you also have the Free Peoples here to the west of you, providing some buffer between you and the Orc rabble, or the Orcs of the Misty Mountains to the west there. So really, for a starting position, you're really well protected. Also, a very kind of unique to this faction, really, which it's not unique that you can be an ambush stance, because any army can go into ambush stance other than dwarves. Dwarves can't hide, I believe, and there are various units that can't hide, like Isengard, for example. But anyway, the big goal, or the big gain here, is because this is like the Mirkwood Forest. And so even if you're, if you have a giant Mordor army or whatever enemy army coming at you to attack you, you can very easily set up an ambush for them. All you have to do is be on a tile that has a tree on it, and you'll go into ambush stance. And as long as you're not, at the end of your movement like this, you can go into ambush stance basically anywhere in this area and set up, just a really good way to defeat the enemy. So that's... In my experience, I've done it a few times where I've built walls and purposely left a weak garrison there, so the enemy doesn't see your army in ambush, and then they attack the settlement, and then you're within, if this was the settlement, we're right here next turn, ready to defend it and provide some reinforcements to that settlement. So it's arguably, in my opinion, one of the strongest defensible regions, not only because of your allies, but just because of the terrain that you are in. Which kind of, being able to defend yourself does rely on your armies, which leads us into the second part, which is the armies, which for elves, it's, I've said it before in other elven video guides, it's not quantity, it's quality of units, which you've definitely got that with the Silvan elves. You got at least 4 units you can take out of here. You got 4 units up here, which is 8, plus Legolas, which is 12. So you got over half a stack for an initial army, and these missile units are going to be, your A game. So it's going to be very easy for you to conquer some of these settlements to the south or north, depending on which way you go. Wherever you want to go, you'll be able to expand. Fighting battles manually will be your friend, just to help you limit casualties. That way, you don't have to leave 2 units behind. You can leave 1 behind in the settlement and keep pushing on if you want to do so. Not to mention, or what we mentioned earlier with Thranduil's Halls, having the high population and having both of the first tier military buildings, you already have access to more melee units or elven archers, which, highly recommend getting. These are going to be your damage dealers. If you've watched the unit guide, which I will also attach to the end of this video, if you have not seen the Silvan Elf unit guide, highly recommend checking that one out. But yeah, for initial army, it's pretty good. Not to mention, you also have a cav unit, which most armies do not start off with. So it's really handy once you do get into some open field battles that you already have that unit, because most cav units in the building tree, as you can see here, you won't get till tier 3, which, it's not that you can't get them right away, because obviously it's tier 4. But usually it's not a building that you rush just to get that kind of unit, and so it's nice that you just have that one right off from the get-go. But then moving on to the third thing, which is the economy of the faction, kind of your typical, economic structure to most cities or most factions in the game. However, Thranduil's Palace has the opportunity to have a very strong trade income, just because you will be, assuming you stick with the allied script, you'll have an alliance and trade with the Free People and Dale and Erebor, and if you happen to conquer more areas up here, you can also trade with the Iron Hills. So that's where you'll see, if we look at the economic tab here, that's where you'll see this trade income just be drastically increased. You throw that in with some extra population, the Great Forge here that increases your trade income as well. You get some mines thrown in there. I mean, all that stuff is going to make you piles and piles of money. on top of, you know, expanding and conquering and just taxing more people. Really, I mean, they're very well located to have a strong economy. Very much kind of like Karis, the Elves of Lothlorien, where they have a lot of settlements right by each other. They're really easy to defend. They're near some allies, and they can get some pretty good trade income coming in there. And then lastly, if we just toggle the Fog of War, we'll go over some expansion tips. Personally, I recommend going south. Just be on the lookout. The one thing you do have to worry about is once you come in contact with Mordor, and especially if you take Dol Guldur, the enemy tends to be less passive, I've seen, and they will start coming at you. It's kind of something I've seen, which a lot of people have talked about it on the Discord, where the enemy is fairly passive, and that's true until you border them. Until, you know, if I take Aaron Dolan or Emin Fuin, you know, and I actually border Mordor, they get much more aggressive. Because they don't have to worry about the rebel settlements. They technically have, you know, quote unquote, have a direct path to you. So even with that, again, going back to the initial starting location, you have a lot of forests where you can constantly be ambushing Mordor, where you may not even want to push down into here, but you can at least be beating them back. Plus, these settlements here, they both have a mineral resource, so both of these settlements here, as well as I think it's just hidden there a little bit, but it's like a lime. Yeah, it's right there a little bit to the side. All four of these settlements, with Thranduil's Palace included, have access to mines. It's just a really strong economic kind of small empire here. But after that, I mean, you can push north. You're not that far pushing north into the mountains and getting more resources. It's just that up there you won't be able to get as much population because elves, the elven resource is not up there. So you'll see in settlements like they'll have the elvish and the elvish town center. You'll be looking for settlements like that. So really, it's forest or open plains is where your expansion will thrive. So after pushing to the south, if you push to the east and just try and basically nudge Dale out of the way, you can clean up a lot of these settlements here to the east and southeast, really. But really, I mean, it's kind of pick your poison. If you want to go north, you can go north. But I would recommend going south and then just pushing southeast here a little bit. Just later on in your campaign, just do be on the lookout for Dol Guldur and Mordor, because they'll just start leaving armies out here, and it won't just be a few units here and there. It'll be 15 to 18 units at least. And once they start getting trolls in there, they get very, very deadly. So just be on the lookout for that. Assuming you're not playing with the Fog of War, you won't see those armies just standing there. So that's where I highly recommend getting a few spies and checking it out before just bringing an army down there and, it getting wrecked. Because if we take Legolas here and we tell him to come down here, that's, we would have taken that settlement. So we wouldn't have to loop around like that. But that's at least 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 7 turns just to get to your closest settlement. So it is going to take you a little bit to get back and retrain if you do get defeated. But other than that, there's really not much else in terms of expansion. With having allies to the east of you and to the west, and then depending on if you push more southwest, you have even more allies that you'll encounter, and that's only going to boost your trade income and everything like that. You're really well protected, no matter where you go, unless you just go straight north to the mountains and just ignore to the south, basically, to the south and to the east. If you just ignore those regions and go completely north, then you'll be kind of all on an island by yourself, kind of thing. But other than that, you're in a good spot to really have a strong campaign. So that is the video. Again, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And don't forget to go check out the Silvan Elf unit guide that I will have tagged here on the end of the video. So thank you guys again for the support, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.